This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Welkom bij de Research Talks podcast met Alan Green and Mark Fairbairn for Stockbox. Hi Alan, Happy New Year to you. How are you doing?
Good morning, Mark, and Happy New Year to you, and good morning to our Dutch listeners too.
Yeah, goedemorgen to you and to our Dutch listeners, if there are any Dutch listeners. And I do apologise, my Dutch is not super duper, but I did return last night late on the Eurostar, and I'm back in The Hague, ready and raring to finish a week, but to almost the start again. Really, I've got a very busy day of interviews, and next week's looking pretty busy as well. So a new year, and it's already kicking off quite strong. I believe you've been quite busy as well, Alan.
Yeah, we really hit the ground running on Tuesday, and although it's been a quiet week in terms of announcements for our client companies, there's just been a tremendous amount of admin and interviews. I caught up with the head geologist at ECR Minerals the other day. Went to the Innovation Centre and we did the recording. Adam Jones was, of course, in Melbourne in Australia, so very interesting catch up there. And yes, lots of other bits and pieces in between. So certainly been busy, and I expect when the bell goes next Monday, we won't stop until the bell goes at 4:30 on Friday.
Well, that's a good thing. Hey, that's a good thing. I'm hoping it's going to be a better first half of this year than it was the second half of last year. It seems to be might be looking a bit tastier. So let's hope it's a good one.
Yeah, it certainly feels that way. You know, there's been a decent uptick in a lot of the stocks, of course, we work with, and the companies that we know. So yeah, there is a good feeling about it. But of course, you know, as the year wears on, we'll just have to see how the economy develops, and of course the general position on commodities, which underpins an awful lot of what we do.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so today we're going to be talking Ananda Development, which is, of course, the medicinal cannabis company, and also PetroTeq as well, PetroTeq Energy, who, have they been suspended since August? Is that right?
Well, they have, yes.
Yeah.
Oddly, they've been suspended on the TSX, where the primary listing is, but not on the OTC markets. And of course, the shares are still trading on the OTC since the bid from Viston came in. So it's quite an interesting conundrum, because if you're a speculator, for instance, you could actually now speculate purchasing shares on the OTC market on the basis that the Viston bid might get trumped, and someone might come in with a higher bid. And of course, that's always when situations like this happen. Even though the bid from Viston has come, I think, a 279% premium to the closing price. I think you can still trade below that on the OTC, because there is quite a spread, and of course the stock can be very volatile, and of course can sometimes be a little more difficult to trade that market. But nonetheless, if you have a position, and of course, there's a great opportunity to speculate. Having said that, it looks likely to go through, so it may just be that the deal is done and Viston acquire the technology in the company, and that'll be that. But remains to be seen.
Okay. So do you want to tell us a bit about the investment case then for PetroTeq?
Yes, of course. Yeah. So PetroTeq, we spoke about this on several occasions last year, and it's a fascinating technology, because the acronym is CORT, Clean Oil Recovery Technology, and this is technology to recover oil from sands that contain bitumen and various other petroleum additives. And of course, if you've ever traveled around and seen some of these so-called oil sands, you'll see that they're very rather than being a yellowish sand, they're far grayer in colour, and there is that smell of bitumen in the air. So these oil sand sites exist at various places around the world. Petrotek Energy, of course, as on TSX, we go as PQ, and the OTC where it's still trading, which is PQEFF, and the the company has its assets primarily at a place called Asphalt Ridge, which is south of the town of Vernal in Utah, and the most recent update provided by the company, and this was provided on December the 23rd, just before Christmas, just before the Viston offer of 74 cents per share came in. The estimate is for 26 million stock tank barrels of proven bitumen reserves, but 82 million proved plus probable. So that's a pretty huge asset by any standards. If it's valued on the TSX exchange, the valuation is 10% higher than the US. So the net present value for proven reserves is $265 million, over $1 billion for the proven and probable. And in US dollars, that equates to 213 million proven and 790 million US proven and probable. So as I say, that offer has come in. Management have accepted the offer. However, of course, as often happens in these situations, somebody wants the technology that badly. They look at the premium to share price, and they may place a higher valuation on the technology. After all, once you have that technology and it's licensed and it's patented, you can then repeat that process on various oil sand sites around the world. So the story of Petrotek has been all about developing the technology, the clean oil recovery technology, and of course it produces oil from sand without water. So unlike traditional methods where tailing ponds and waste is left behind, this is what's referred to as a closed loop system. So the solvents that are used to recover the oil are also recovered themselves and recycled, and at the same time, the sands that have been cleaned can then be used for construction and for other purposes. So there are two byproducts of this process. So it's extremely efficient, extremely clean, and with the asset that's in place, the company's gone through this evolution, of course, where it's tested the technology. The technology has also been tested independently elsewhere. Of course, Quadrized Fuels in the UK assessed the heavy sweet oil that's produced from the process for their technologies, the multi-phase superfine atomized residue technologies, and this has an application both in marine, so heavy marine engines and other applications, and so the oil that's produced is very high quality, resale value, and is very much in demand. So Viston have got themselves with this acquisition a very high value property and technology, and it's something people say that we're moving to clean technology. Well, if you look at the prices, say of Shell and BP and other oil companies, those companies look pretty buoyant right now, and I don't think oil is going to go away anytime soon. Much as people might like to sort of point to clean technology and say it's the way forward, or the oil and the internal combustion engines are dead. Not a bit of it. I think we're going to see there's quite a bit of life in the old dog yet. But certainly when it comes to the investment case for Petrotek, it looks like it's a done deal, but 11th hour, these deals are never quite as done as they seem, and we may see another buyer yet pop his or her head over the parapet and make a higher offer, in which case all bets are off. And of course, if you're holding a position on the OTC market for this company, then you might just get to experience some upside off the back of that.
Yeah, interesting. It's certainly interesting that you can still trade on the OTC at below the offer price, it seems.
So it would seem. So that's of course two different markets, and maybe the fact it's below the offer price also is indicative of the fact that when it comes to assessing the net present value of an asset, of course, in the US, it's valued at 10% lower. So that could in some way reflect the stock, perhaps the fact that the stock is trading below the offer price before the shares were suspended on the TSX. But of course, that's just the rules of the different exchanges, and investors can carry on trading. So it's a pretty unusual situation. I agree with you, but the fact is that if you're a speculator, if you think the story's got further to run, then there is an opportunity to take a position in that and back your own judgment.
And there's no way to tell how long this is going to take. It could almost come on, not today, well, not tomorrow, but Monday, or it could take a few more months.
Well, that's it. Well, the company announced, of course, on Tuesday this week that the offer was the directors have unanimously accepted Vistan's offer, and of course, it's got to go through the offer's already undergone due diligence, and of course, all of the usual caveats are inserted into the announcement. But Dr. Gerald Bailey, the chairman and CEO, said that after intense due diligence, the directors have recommended the transaction. We're particularly pleased with the fact this recognition shows. With the recognition that shows of our technology, and we had always forecast a great future, but we believe this offer is of great value to shareholders, and if it can be achieved, will reward our many dedicated supporters. So in there, he's saying if it can be achieved, clearly it ain't over until the fat lady sings, and we could well see several more chapters emerge from this story.
Okay, but it seems like the offer's certainly there at an advanced stage, because when we spoke about this before, and you were presenting the investment case and the technology, it was still like almost like a left field kind of offer, and they weren't really sure what was going on. So it's nice to see that that's definitely progressed now to the point where hopefully it can be accepted fairly soon and advance this project.
Well, I guess if another offer comes in, it'll be a company or an asset within the oil industry that recognizes or believes they can get even greater value from it, because that's a 279% premium to the closing price on TSX. And although shares are still trading on the OTC, of course, the TSX is the primary market for the company. So that's a huge statement of value right there, this isn't actually a word, but somebody coined this phrase a few years ago. Futurability. It's all. It's priced in. The value that the company can achieve from this going forward is largely priced in. So if somebody comes forward from the oil industry, they clearly see a different path to achieving a higher value, and of course that could still happen. But the longer this goes on, the less likely that appears to be. And as you say, Mark, we could hear on Monday that it's gone unconditional and it's a done deal.
Okay. Well, thank you, Alan, for presenting the case there for PetroTeq Energy. So on to cannabis then, medicinal cannabis and Ananda development.
Ananda Developments, of course, we've spoken about Ananda. I've also interviewed Melissa Sturgis, the chief executive, last year, and we spoke about the company's asset at the facility up in Lincolnshire, and the company has been around for many years. Actually, it's an Aquis listed company. And I think just on Aquis alone, I think Aquis is emerging. It's gone through various iterations over the years. Of course, we had the OFX, then Plus Markets, and then ISDX, and here we are now with Aquis. And I feel finally that the exchange has come of age, because it's different structures within listed companies on Aquis. You've got the Access, which of course is the providing a platform, an IPO platform for companies to come to market and create some liquidity in their shares. And then of course you've got the growth companies, and the Aquis Apex listing, or the Aquis Apex companies. Of course, Coincilium is one such company. They have to meet certain criteria for the company and for the corporate governance code that they adhere to, and various other criteria. But certainly. Ananda has been listed on Aquis for some years, and it's a slow burn in a sense, but perhaps that's the wrong term to use with cannabis. But there we go. So it's a medicinal cannabis company, and there are three primary components to the Ananda investment proposition. Firstly, the company has or is a shareholder in ICANN, which is short for Israel Cannabis. And this is a medicinal cannabis incubator, and also a company that organizes conferences around the world for cannabis and for cannabis companies and investors. And again, it had a very quiet time during COVID, but this of course has picked up again. So Ananda owns just under 1% of ICANN, 180 shares. Secondly, it has an investment. It owns 15% of Liberty Herbal Technologies, LHT, and I sat in on a presentation at Peterhouse some years back, where the LHT vaping product, the HAPAC, that's spelled HAPAC, the HAPAC vaping product was shown to potential investors. And of course, demonstrated that it was demonstrated how you could use this, and it was literally like a small tea bag of the herbs, which was put into a slot in this vaping machine, and you smoked them, and it was, or you vaped them, and it was a very clean, straightforward process. Nobody walked out of the office stoned. It was a very informative presentation. So Ananda have a board seat on the company, and 15% of the company is owned by them for an investment some years ago of 460,000. But the jewel in the Ananda crown is most certainly the facility with DJT plants to develop a growing facility in Leicestershire. Sorry, I said Lincolnshire earlier. It's Leicestershire, and of course the company announced last year they'd received Home Office approval to develop this 2,000 square meter greenhouse, a modular breeding facility, and in this facility, they planted multiple strains of cannabis, and of course, cannabis development is still really at a relatively early stage, and with each strain that's developed, each flower has different qualities. So these qualities had to be assessed in order that they can put these strains together, produce the seeds, and breed these plants to stabilize them, and that is exactly what's happening right now. The company is growing they're growing the different iterations of these plants that have developed, and the transition to commerciality, of course, really takes the same time as it takes to grow the plants. Nonetheless, the company is progressing. It's making progress. At the site, the company announced today, that's of course Friday the 7th of January, it provided an update to shareholders from a recent Q&A, which very, very informative. And this can be seen, of course, if you look at the latest RNS from Ananda, you'll see this. And there were questions today about some 40 hectares of land which were identified by the group for commercial growing. Is it the intention to use it for growing? Is it the intention to use the whole area for the first growing season? Ananda replied, it's able to tailor the size of its growing area to the demand for the product, and it expects to accelerate in the coming years. In other words, the company now has the resource and the facility to accelerate that growth. Bear in mind the facility they have at the moment. Of course, they're focusing on growing and developing these strains indoors. So once they have completed that process and identified the correct strain, then they can concentrate on volume and growth. There are also questions about the establishing relationships with potential customers. The company's launched an initiative with the launch of the Medicinal Cannabis Research Roundup newsletters, so investors can subscribe to this, and this newsletter provides a regular update on the industry and, of course, the progress that Ananda are making. The questions, of course, about from investors, looking for timelines and looking for value inflection points. When does Ananda anticipate starting and finishing the test growing phase? The company said the genetic stabilization and field program will take about 18 months, provided there are no delays. But of course, I think historically, Melissa Sturgis and the team have always been very cautious in their prognosis for the development and the time it takes to develop. And of course, this is cutting edge technology, so they're going to be very cautious in their outlook, in the way they project, that they project the timelines. But the general consensus is it will take about 18 months, and will commence when the research facility construction is complete. So in other words, it will happen. I would imagine sometime before the summer this year. But Ananda, I'm sure, will update on that. Of course, questions about when Ananda will start its first production, growing and harvest. And again, with this process, the seeds have to be stabilized and understood first of all before the harvest can start. But growing is taking place all the time to understand the different medicinal properties that the cannabis has, and of course that it's very much a work in progress. So that really summarizes the investment case for Ananda. It is, excuse the pun, a slow burn opportunity, but I think we've seen, certainly in the past few weeks, there's the share price has started to perk back up again. Currently trading at 1.1p mid price. Bit of a spread that gives the company a market capitalization of 8.7 million, which I think, considering the two investments it has, and of course the jewel in the crown at the Leicestershire facility, I think offers great value. And of course, this is a huge burgeoning market. We know that. For instance, last year, over 37,000 cannabis-based products, different products, were imported into the UK from March to September, and the rate of patient growth in the UK is growing at something like 20% per month. And of course, the medicinal cannabis is used to treat pain, anxiety, depression, neurological disorders, and we've heard a lot over the past few years about people who have illnesses for which cannabis can treat pain and remove pain, and some of the legal battles that have taken place to enable people to use the medicinal properties. And I think as we go down the road, and companies like Ananda develop the medicinal cannabis to the point where they have a stable product which is medically officially recognized by the medical profession as a treatment, then this industry is absolutely going to explode, both in terms of its value and of course for investors and shareholders in early stage technology such as this. It's going to be a great value opportunity, but this isn't going to happen overnight, and I'm sure when you see Melissa interviewed, she will urge caution in that regard too. Nonetheless, it's a great long-term investment, and I think it's got the next few years are going to see some really exciting changes in this sector.
I think last year was a big year for them, wasn't it, with the regulatory approval and getting the site sorted and some of the partnerships they were talking about. I think this year could really see some nice development there, some real tangible development as well, particularly with the building of the facility. So hopefully a good development year for Ananda there, and as you say, maybe a bit of a slow burner, but slow and steady and building on what they've got to get to being where they want to be with in the medicinal cannabis space.
Indeed, yeah. As you say, Mark, I mean that Home Office approval was really the line in the sand. Once that was in place, then the company has the technology, has the resource, has the expertise to develop the medicinal cannabis to the point where it's got a stable product that will achieve the recognition that it deserves, quite frankly, and it can be then taken to the mass market. So this is 8.7 million for a company at the forefront of medicinal cannabis research like this is very cheap indeed. And I think we've already seen the interest in cannabis with other companies coming to market. Of course, Canova came to market last year, and we've seen the huge interest in countries like Canada where it is partway legalized. So this is a burgeoning industry. It's not going to go away. I think the medicinal benefits of cannabis